Welcome to Cardinals Cover 2 with Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. Cardinals Cover 2 is brought to you by Arizona Cardinals Podcasts. Visit azcardinals.com/podcasts. From the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, here's Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki.
So not only is it a Football Friday, it is Black Friday. And I don't know about you, MJ, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I've just never, not that I don't understand it, I just have never wanted or had the desire to wake up the crack of dawn or either go out on Thanksgiving. By the way, I hope everyone had a safe and fun Thanksgiving on Thursday, but I'm just not a Black Friday going to the store kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of my shopping online. You can go
Absolutely.
to azcardinals.com.
For some great deals on azcardinals.com.
But,
merchandise.
I mean, some people like to get in that hustle and bustle, and they got time on their hands, and they like waiting in line. Now, if you plan it right, you probably could find some great deals, but unfortunately, they just don't have a lot of the same stuff that everyone's looking for, and then it becomes a circus.
Cyber Monday. Just do it online. Save yourself some time, some grief, the headache, the stress. Online. That's what it's for. Online.
So, in other words,
from your own house.
I understand, and it's the convenience part.
Yes.
Smarter, not harder,
exactly.
Right?
I'm all about convenience.
All right. So you never go to the mall?
I do, but not during the busy time, especially not in December. No, it's a zoo. You know what? I made the mistake once.
You send the wife to the mall.
I made the mistake once of going to the grocery store.
Oh, wow.
A couple of days before Christmas. That was a mistake. And that was just
you
my
got to
own
get
fault.
out a little bit.
I do. I just not a huge mall crowd.
I'm sure it was busy
thing.
for the last 3 or 4 days if you went to the supermarket.
Absolutely.
Just in time for
just,
Thanksgiving. Did you have a good meal?
I did. It was very good.
Very good.
Well,
some
everyone
football,
did too.
family.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Food, fun, football, faith, family, all works
Amen.
on Thanksgiving. As we take off here on this Football Friday, here's what's ahead on this edition of Cards Cover 2. Phillip Rivers, the trash talker. We'll get into that here. Josh Rosen is wired for sound. You don't want to miss that. Plus, Larry Fitzgerald's take on the rediscovery of David Johnson. And, of course, your questions via social media using the hashtag CardsCover2. Hashtag CardsCover2 with the number 2 to get involved in the show here on this Football Friday. That's all to come. But up first, the news of the day, and we begin with the injury report. And according to head coach Steve Wilks, 4 players have already been ruled out for Sunday's game against the Chargers. They are Dayon Buchanan, DJ Humphries, Rudy Ford, and Chad Williams. They will not play. The big one on there, well, they're all big, but perhaps the biggest is Humphries missing a second straight game. So rookie Corey Cunningham will make his second straight start at left tackle. And, well, MJ, you've been talking about it all week. You want him to start, but, of course, you wanted Humphries to be on the field and have Cunningham over at right tackle. But even so, Cunningham, once again, on the field, and certainly a tough test ahead of him with Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram on the other side for the Chargers.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge. Now, according to Corey Cunningham, he had an idea earlier in the week that he was going to be the starter, or maybe last week they tried one of those game time decisions, and then he was told. Now, he did get more reps in practice just in case that happened. So, he's been taking the first team reps. I thought he passed the eye test. This is another great challenge, whether they move Bosa around. Maybe they'll put Bosa on the right side versus the left side. Maybe Melvin Ingram, they'll flip their guys. I'd be curious to see how they try to attack this with a rookie left tackle, and then Andre Smith, if he happens to make the start, which you got to think that's going to be the case here. So, the only thing for Humphries, when he's in there, I think he's one of the top 15 left tackles in football. The problem is, and if he's injured, you don't want to further damage it, or not, don't know the extent of it, but he needed to really play a full season this year. And, it's unfortunate. I know he wants to be out there. I mean, he's approaching a fifth-year option and possibly an extension. But you like to see him play a full season. Unfortunately, that's the case. It's the NFL. It's a very grinding business, and I know he wants to be out there, so it's got to be disappointing that he wasn't able to play a full season because he worked so hard in the offseason to get back to this. But next man up, and Corey Cunningham, you got to give him credit. Besides that second play of the game, and he was on the ground a little bit in the first quarter, he really played well down the stretch. So I think it's something he can build on.
And Coach Wilkes had great praise for Cunningham earlier today and said the moment on Sunday against the Raiders was not too big for him, and that's what we heard in the case of Josh Rosen, Mason Cole, Chase Edmonds, all these rookies getting some serious snaps here in 2018. So Corey Cunningham, once again, your starting left tackle on Sunday. Now, 7 players are listed as questionable, including Budda Baker and Corey Peters, although Wilkes was, quote, hopeful that both of those players would be able to go. And, of course, you'd love to see Baker on the field, considering he was not last week against the Raiders, and that's the versatility of a Budda Baker certainly is something that defense would love to have.
Now, when you talk about the Cardinals' defense, the first thing you mentioned is Chandler Jones and Patrick Peterson. These are 2 players that they need if they want to try to slow the running game down. Absolutely. For the San Diego Chargers. Again, they're not going to be the first guys you mention when you look at the Cardinal defense, but if you've watched this team from this year and even going back to last year, when Peters is in the game, they're a better run-stuffing team. When Baker's in coverage, they're a better football team in the secondary. You don't have as many miscues, so hopefully these guys can play because they're definitely needed on defense after your top 2 guys.
Phil Dawson also listed as questionable, according to Coach Wilkes. Dawson is, quote, going to be fine, kicked the ball well this week, no setbacks, he's looking good, unquote. So be good to see Dawson on the field as well. But quick notes on the Chargers. They list 3 players as questionable, including running back Melvin Gordon, who's dealing with a hamstring and a knee issue. And you talk about stopping the run if you're the Cardinals. Well, if you have a less than 100% Gordon, that certainly bodes well for the Cardinals. But at this point in the season, though, when you're talking about Week 12, there's not a lot of guys that are 100%. So well, how serious that is, how much it slows them down, who knows? But something to pay attention to on Sunday.
He's only missed 1 game this year. He was inactive. I want to say that was Week 7.
Yes.
He has yet to carry the ball over 20 times per game. Now, he also has 42 receptions besides him getting his rushes in the rushing game. So he is targeted in the passing game, but he's not a guy that's going to carry the ball 25 to 30 times. It may be that he's going through some soreness or a certain injury. They're not putting the load on him. Now, you want to make sure he's healthy going into the postseason if they get there. So, again, he has yet to have a game over 20 carries, but obviously he's an all-purpose back, a 3-down back, so you got to make sure you're aware of him in the passing game.
Well, let's touch more on this Chargers team. A record of 7-3, second place in the AFC West. Had a 6-game winning streak snapped last week when they lost at home to the Denver Broncos, so perhaps the Chargers refocused for this matchup against the Cardinals, which comes in with a mark of 2-8. And keep in mind the Chargers are at Pittsburgh next week, so if you're thinking about that overlook or that trap game, perhaps, but not now after they lost last week. But it's a Chargers team that, of course, with Phillip Rivers and Melvin Gordon, Keenan Allen, Tyrell Williams, who's also a little bit banged up as well. As we were talking before the show, it's not a Chargers team that does one thing particularly better than any other team. It's just that they're solid in all 3 phases.
Well, they're consistent.
Yes.
And you could, Rivers, he's not in the same conversation when we talk about Brady, Breeze, even this year Mahomes. Phillip Rivers is going to be a future Hall of Famer. Now, the one thing he doesn't have, like Dan Marino, is he hasn't been able to win a championship, where Eli and Ben Roethlisberger, whether they had a really good team around them, they have a couple of rings. And so Rivers never is brought up in this conversation, but he is a franchise quarterback. He's one of those guys where if he's on your team, you love him. He can bring you the dagger where you think he got great coverage, and he throws like a shot put. It's weird how he throws a football. It's like it's a shot put coming out, but he's willing to sit in the pocket. He's a tough guy. They went out and got Pouncey in free agency from the Dolphins. They drafted Forrest Lamp. I mean, they have done a good job trying to put talent around him, like the Cardinals are going to try to do with Rosen, and also improve the offensive line. And then Wisenhunt, I think they're on the same page. He has the ability to check out of plays, but we know that Wiz can call plays, and he likes to spin the ball down the field.
Well, the one thing Rivers is definitely not doing this season is turning the ball over. Only 6 interceptions. That's always been one of the knocks, if you will, on Rivers, is that he throws a lot of interceptions. That has not been the case this year.
No, it's a great point, because normally you'll see him at the end of the year 31-17. You know what I mean? He does, because a lot of times they're trailing, and he's kind of like
forcing it. He's trying to make something happen.
He's kind of a gunslinger too. He'll try to force things because they have to trail. And we know that this team has always gotten off the slow starts last year, even though they got a nice record now. that's a good stat because in the past you would he's going to throw you a pick at some point. Doesn't appear to be the case this year.
23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions for Phillip Rivers. The Chargers offense and defense, certainly something for head coach Steve Wilks on the mind, and his scouting report as he broke it down earlier this week.
Well, let's start with the defense. Bosa's back, so they got Ingram, and their front seven is tremendous. They do a great job getting pressure on the quarterback without rushing, with those two guys coming off the edge. You look at the linebackers, they play well. I think Derwin James, the way he's playing right now, he doesn't even look like a rookie, some of the things that he's doing. So we're going to have our hands full in regards to that. And, Phillip Rivers is a future Hall of Famer. You look at Gordon, the running back. We got to stop the run first. That's going to be the key. And then Keelan Allen and all the receivers they have is going to be tough. So it's going to be a good game, and we're going to be well prepared and ready.
A top 7 total offense for the Chargers is what is in front of the Cardinals on Sunday. And also with Phillip Rivers, that became a topic of discussion this week, especially when you have Coach Wilks, who's been on that Chargers staff with Phillip Rivers, and then Trey Boston in the Cardinals locker room, who spent last season with the Chargers, is the competitiveness and, dare we say, trash talker that Phillip Rivers is. And it brought a smile to Coach Wilks' face earlier today, and I went over and I asked Boston if he had any examples, and he didn't have anything specific, but the one thing he did say was Phillip doesn't start it, but he's certainly not afraid to finish it and always get the last word in, but it starts immediately, but he waits for someone to engage him. And the one thing is you in locker rooms or on the field is Rivers does not curse, which if you're in that competitive spirit, it's kind of hard not to let your emotions down that road, but he does not. But he is deft at the trash talking, if you will.
Yeah, and there's been stories about him. I kind of knew that, and Coach Wilks said, yeah, he doesn't use profanity. But the thing is, he kind of reminds me of Dan Marino. In growing up, obviously in upstate New York, really focused on the AFC East with the Marino and obviously the Bills and Jim Kelly. There was Rich Gannon would do it. But these guys would literally come to the sidelines and just start jawing with their teammates. And, again, he doesn't throw out any profanity, doesn't make it personal. I mean, they are such fierce competitors, but he also does it on the field. You watch his reaction if an official makes a call and he's over there arguing. I mean, the way he plays the game, it's just he's so intense. He's a fierce competitor, and he wears his emotions on his sleeves. I mean, he's fascinating. Just look at that draft class.
Absolutely. The quarterbacks in that draft class.
And then throwing fits.
That's true. You kind of get, yeah. I mean
we're talking
the quarterbacks, yeah.
We're talking 4 Hall of Famers.
Absolutely. Oh, I would definitely put Phillip Rivers in that category.
Was Watt in that draft too? 11th overall? I have to go back.
That's
I don't
a
have
good
it.
question.
I should have that in front of me.
And at that point, you're wondering, how does he slip all the way to the teen or the second half of that?
Yeah, I mean,
10.
we could do that with every draft.
That's true.
But when besides Robert Gallery and Roethlisberger dropped to
10
that year, yeah, or 11. I think he may have been. I thought Watt was in that draft. I could be wrong. But anyways, you're talking about 3 franchise quarterbacks. Now, again, Rivers hasn't won the big one. And then a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
Well, and the Cardinals, along with the Jets and the Bills, are hoping that this 2018 draft class is much that same way. And you talk about the passion that Rivers has. What about the passion of a Trey Boston, who certainly was front and center earlier this week when talking with the media about his time with the Chargers, and kind of I think he was deadpanning a little bit, saying that he doesn't remember anything about what the Chargers do. And, oh, by the way, if you're the Chargers on offense, keep your same plays, same signals. I just forgot everything that they do over there. But there's going to be a little bit extra added for him, because I don't know how much he really wanted to leave. He was expecting to get paid. It didn't happen. And, basically, I mean, he was signed late by the Cardinals, and all of a sudden it's a great signing for them. And if you're the Chargers, how do you let that kind of a talent go? But they went younger within the draft, and he became the odd man out.
I mean, you talked about the other day, who's their leading tackler?
Yeah, James is.
Yeah, I mean, younger and a lot cheaper. Yeah, listen, I don't know the situation with the safety market. It obviously dried up. And the way he's playing, curious to see if the Cardinals would like to retain him. Is he a guy that wants to go out and find out what he's worth? I think he's played well enough to earn a contract, whether it's here or somewhere else. But Patrick Peterson, he's gone against Ken Whisenhunt in practice.
And he brought that up, too, as
long
far
time
as,
ago. I don't think
true.
Wiz has changed his offense. Personnel's changed.
But Patrick brought up the fact that the tendencies, the philosophy
Yes.
of a Whisenhunt offense that maybe he and some others in that locker room, or at least he could impart on others as far as, okay, if we get into this situation or historically this is what Wiz likes to do. And I didn't think in that respects, but it might not be certain plays, but as far as tendencies as far as what you like to do. Yes.
I mean, different personnel. Now, I'll tell you a story because Wiz was a big
story time with MJ.
Well, going back to that draft, Wiz loved Patrick Peterson. And if Cincinnati would have drafted Patrick Peterson, you know who the Cardinals were going to take?
At 5?
A.J. Green.
Okay. I certainly would have been okay with that.
They thought Cincinnati was going to take the corner, and so they took the wide receiver.
Yeah, the Cardinals certainly love him.
I mean, you can't go wrong.
No,
Patrick Peterson,
certainly.
potential Hall of Famer. A.J. Green's obviously one of the top 6-7 receivers in football. But they like both of those guys. That's where they had them ranked on their board.
Also on Sunday, this matchup, again, the Chargers moving from San Diego to Los Angeles. They really don't have a place to play just yet. They're, a year or two away from their own building. So they play at the StubHub Center, which is a small venue with regard to the NFL, only about 27,000 seat stadium. It's basically more known for its use in the MLS. The LA Galaxy play there. So now all of a sudden you have the venue and what that might do, the atmosphere. Some of the players, Larry Fitzgerald, Patrick Peterson, kind of downplayed it as far as not a lot of fans in the seats and how that might affect the play on the field. But it is certainly different when you're used to that 65, 70, 75,000 and you're cutting that down to 20, 25. That's 2/3 fewer than what these players are normally used to playing in front of.
Yeah, I have yet to be there. I've watched games on TV there. I know it was made for soccer. But it's very intimate. You're right out. The crowd is right there. There's not a lot of room around you. So I got to assume, and I know that they're going to be the second fiddle to when they move in the new stadium with the Rams. But if they can continue to win, we know the Rams right now are the darling there. But don't fall asleep on this Chargers team. They got a good team here. But I got to assume, and I haven't been there, that even though it only holds like 25, 26,000 seats, you got to hope those are Chargers fans, nobody else showing up.
Absolutely, especially if you're the Chargers.
Right, because you can't have 18,000 Charger fans, and then when the Eagles go there or another team goes there, I mean, you got to make sure that the 26,000 are all Chargers fans, because otherwise from that, that's players, though, when you get into a stadium, yeah, it may look different, but once you get between the lines, the football field's the same,
and once it's
the
kicked
sidelines
off,
are the same, the goalposts are the same. You just can't get caught up in, all right, we're playing in front of 70,000 versus 26,000. That's more on the home team than the visiting team, I would think.
Now, one Cardinals player has played in StubHub Center, and that would be quarterback Josh Rosen. Of course, it came when he was on high school, specifically 2013. His junior year in high school led St. John Bosco to a victory over De La Salle in the Open Division State Championship game, and Rosen was asked about that earlier this week.
Yeah, it was fun. I just remember I had a rushing touchdown in the game that was called back on the first drive, and then, which was unfortunate. But I think we snapped a pretty big winning streak of De La Salle, and that was a very fun year, going 16-0. I have played a 16-game season before, but it was a lot of fun. That was sort of high school football was a lot of fun. I don't know. There's a spot in the wall that I'll definitely remember when I jumped up over the crowd hung out with some of my buddies. I got some photos holding the state championship with all my friends in the stands and stuff. I might try to spot that part in the wall, but for the most part, not too much.
By the way, Rosen in that championship game, 12 of 17 for 200 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and as he mentioned, he completed a perfect. Not only did he complete a 16-game season, they went undefeated that year, 16-0, and ended De La Salle's 40-game win streak.
For those that are watching online and through Periscope and YouTube, you got a chance to see it. our producer, Jimmy Omohundro, made a great example, kind of similar to the Pro Football Hall of Fame game when they have that in Canton, Ohio.
Yeah, a lot more intimate.
Right.
But different fans.
That's a really good analogy versus us trying to, because it's really a soccer stadium turned into football, but that's a good analogy right there.
And this is their second season there, and what are they? It's 2 more, 3 more until they
19 or 20.
Okay, so they've got at least 1 more season there, maybe 2, before they get into their own building, and then you got to figure out, okay, is it the Chargers, is it the Rams, and how do you that fan bases and how they coexist in that market?
Well, right now, I mean, the Rams, you could tell they've gone all in. The Chargers, I'm sure their fans are upset where they're going to L.A. now, because San Diego, even though the stadium needed an upgrade or they need a new facility, and we know that when it comes to funding, it's not going to happen like maybe it's happened in the past. So they're going to have to win in order to be in that conversation. Right now, the darling is not only the Rams, but the Dodgers and the Lakers, and they're just trying to fight for their space there. But if you win in this league, you'll get supported. But obviously, when I don't know if they're not like they're going to be like a tenant in that new building. It's really the Rams Stadium with the Chargers being there.
That's right. Forget about that too. They'll kind of much like the Giants and the Jets in New York.
They share
New
though.
Jersey. Yeah.
With Kroenke, Stan Kroenke's really. I don't know all the details. Wait till we get closer, but. Both teams are going to play there, but I got to think it's more the Rams than the Chargers unless they start winning and getting to the postseason.
Well, we're on the topic of Josh Rosen. How about this? He was wired up on Sunday against the Oakland Raiders. Always fun to hear what goes on during a game when these players get wired up by the Cardinals broadcasting department. Here is Wired Up featuring Josh Rosen.
The sound and fury of NFL football. Wired.
All right, bring it up. Hey, I already told the offense, let's be some today. Finish every block, finish every run, finish every catch, finish every play. Monday. 180. What do you got? Woo! What do you got? Woo!
Quarterback from UCLA.
Let's be great today. Come on. Let's do it. Have a day. Let's be great today. Come on. Come on, DC. Give me some. Hey, big country. Hey, let's be great today, man. Come on. Let's get it, man. Huddle. All right. Hey, let's have a great day today. Come on. 53 from White. What do you got?
And Rosen will hand it off to Johnson off the right side. They get to 9-yard run.
What do you got? Hey!
Play action pass, steps up, gets hit, but gets rid of the pass near side, and it is intercepted at the 40-yard line. There were 2 men in the backfield.
I need you to lead him, okay? All right? I was trying to put it way high and up for Larry right there. I was thinking he was going to make an amazing catch or nothing. What do you got?
Shotgun snap. Rosen, 3-step drop, looks left, throws left, fits his open end zone, touchdown! Josh Rosen with a great throw to Larry Fitzgerald, and the Cardinals with an opportunity to tie the game.
That's how you play it. Way to move on.
Give me a little time. I got you. Hey, way to respond. Here we go. Hey, Mace, you good? We're going gun on 180. 180! What do you got? Hey, Allie! Hurry! Hut!
Rosen throws to the left side to Kirk, caught at the 40, breaks the tackle, 45-50, shot out of a cannon at the 40, at the 30, at the 20, 10, 5, touchdown. Christian Kirk on his birthday.
Hey, happy birthday, boy! Hey, alert! 180! What do you got?
Rosen drops back to throw, gets hit at the 1 and sacked. Maurice Hurst appeared to be untouched and unblocked.
All right, let's ball out. Come on, let's go score. 180. What do you got?
Play fake. Rosen bootleg to the near side. Throws near side to Fitz. He caught it at the goal line and is in. Touchdown. He ties the game at 20.
It's a hell of a throw. I'm talking about what? That's what I'm talking about.
I threw that as hard as I possibly could. All right, Derek Carr, what you got? Mr. Gruden.
Throws to the left, it's caught, and a huge hit. Big stick by Ben Wickery on Cook.
Woo!
Almost intercepted by Ben Wickery.
Oh, no!
Shotgun snap, quick throw to the left, caught by Roberts, 35. Cuts right to the 30, to the left of the 25, to the 20, inside the 20, down to the 16.
7, 6, 5, 4.
Snaps, spikes with 2 seconds left.
They got to miss this field goal.
Carlson 35-yard attempt to win the game for the Raiders. 2 seconds left. Cardinals 21, Oakland 20. And the kick is good. And the Raiders win it 23-21.
Hey, how we doing, bro?
Hey, there you are, man. Golly, I'm a huge fan, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Love watching you. You're going to be a great one. You know that.
Definitely.
Good luck to you, brother.
Way to finish that one.
Appreciate you. Thanks.
For those listening to the podcast, that last conversation, Josh Rosen and Raiders quarterback Derek Carr, I love the wired up segments that the Cardinals do and that the players allow for that to happen, because you really get inside. And certain guys, it just fits, and you could hear Rosen and the conversation he had with Byron Leftwich, MJ, as far as move on. And that's the one thing we've heard about Rosen, his ability to put the negative behind him immediately. Especially after an interception, come back and lead that team to a go-ahead score before the Raiders kick that game-winning field goal.
Oh, that was fascinating. I mean, just to hear the things that are going on in the huddle and him getting hit and him going to Leftwich on the bench saying, just give me a little bit more time. Like, let's give me a little bit more time here. Like, maybe it's protection or just give me a little bit more time. And then the throw to Fitz, he literally said it was the hardest ball he'd thrown.
And Fitz praising where the ball was thrown.
Well,
because
you and I are in the press box.
It looked like that ball was headed right into the DB's hands, and then that from the angle that was shown on Wired, you could tell that it was a little bit more easily, catchable for Fitz than it was, but it looked like he almost took that ball out of the defender's hands.
Well, because of this velocity, only one guy can catch it.
Yes.
That was Fitz.
And that's what we've heard a couple of times as far as putting that ball up to where only one guy can get it, my guy or no one else. And Josh Rosen is certainly developing. Now it's just got to come with those wins and losses, and perhaps one coming up this Sunday.
And we're talking about a guy that started, since Leftwich and, got a few starts. I mean, here he's like a veteran on the sidelines talking to other players, trying to keep their composure. He's taking a hit and saying, we got to get back up. And no, that's fascinating. I mean, they just got to protect him and get more talent around him, and the future's bright. I mean, he definitely passes the eye test. And I know that, it's not what the ideal plan was, but hey, he's playing now. Make the best of the opportunity, but make sure you protect him, because if you could protect him, and I'm talking about running game, receivers getting open for passes, this team could put up points. I just don't know if it's going to happen this year.
Leftwich and Rosen together as offensive coordinator and quarterback. This will be their fourth game together coming up on Sunday. 2:05 is the kickoff from StubHub Center. That means 9:30 a.m. The pregame begins on the Arizona Cardinals radio network. If you want to know where to watch, listen, and follow the game, just go to azcardinals.com/GameCentral. That's azcardinals.com/GameCentral. Also a great place to go on game day itself. Live blog with play-by-play updates, scoring summary and box score, and of course video highlights as well. As we continue here on Cards Cover 2, Craig Riolu and Mike Jurecki on this Football Friday from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center. It is a Football Friday. It is also a Fitz Friday. Hashtag Fitz Friday is number 11, always meets the media on Thursday, and then we kind of give you the best of the Q&A with his session with reporters on Friday. And among the topics that Fitzgerald discussed, he starts about David Johnson and how his resurgence as perhaps the Cardinals' go-to player on offense.
Why is David Johnson finally found his groove this season?
I think that's a question that you probably better ask to, one of the coaches or anything. I don't know. I mean, he's always had the ability and the talent. I mean, the running lanes have been there of late, and in the passing game, he's getting a lot more targets. But I mean, he's creating a lot of that stuff on his own with his own feet, breaking tackles, making guys miss, and doing what the premier backs in the league do.
seems like on your 2 touchdowns last week, Josh put the ball kind of in the perfect spot to where you were the one that could make the play on it. Do you see that as one of his stronger suits, is kind of the throwing into tiny windows like that?
Yeah, I mean, he's got elite arm strength, and he's got unbelievable confidence in where he can place the football. And, I mean, you saw that on the throw before mine, on the bench route to Christian. I mean, he put that ball, I mean, only where Christian can make a play. The guy was breaking on it, but he just couldn't get there. Christian was able to make the play, very acrobatic, and get his feet down. And the same thing on the next play to me. You know, he just gives guys balls they can make a play with.
Are you expecting a much different experience playing at StubHub with 25,000 people in the stadium as opposed to what you guys are usually used to?
No, I mean, football is football. I mean, we're playing the Chargers. You know, it wouldn't matter if we were playing them out here in Tempe. I mean, it's going to be a good football game. It's a really good football team coming off a tough loss at home last week. They desperately want to get back on track and you know, fighting for home field in the AFC. And you know, we know what we have in front of us. You know, it doesn't really matter who's in the stands or how many people are going to be there. That's inconsequential.
Did you get to know Philip coming into that?
That's my guy, man. That's my guy. I love Phil. We got to know each other really well, you know, at those award banquets, you know, every single other weekend, from water camps, all these different places, him and Eli and, you know, some of my closest friends. I mean, I still talk to those guys, you know, 7-8 times a year, and, you know, keep up with the families and things like that. So, yeah, we're real close.
So Philip Rivers is Fitz's guy, but Phil, as in Phil Mickelson, is not Fitz's guy. Is certainly the match between Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods capturing a lot of the attention, not only across the country, but certainly in the Cardinals locker room. Both Fitz and Patrick Peterson were asked about that matchup, and the two avid golfers are actually going with Tiger Woods in that matchup. And I just checked. Phil Mickelson actually leads 1-up through 9 holes. So Fitz and Patrick probably not very happy right now.
The passion they were showing. I mean, normally on Fridays, these guys want to get out of here once the meetings are over and, you know, they got their obligations. And here's two guys just sitting in the locker room with a bunch of others watching this matchup.
Yeah, lingering a little bit longer at the facility than they perhaps would on a Friday afternoon. Speaking of Peterson, of course, the season certainly hasn't gone like any of us had hoped, but that's on the field. Off the field, the Cardinals continue to be leaders in the community, and earlier this month was the second annual Patrick Peterson Thanksgiving giveaway, where Peterson donated 221 meals to families in need.
And this time of the year is always, to me, it's about giving. It's about putting that smile on people's faces, warming people's heart. Hope you guys have a blessed Thanksgiving.
It's impressive, number one, that you've got a professional athlete willing to dedicate his time to come out to Mesa, Arizona, to a Title I school and to help out a bunch of families. It's absolutely fantastic. And for Patrick, it means he gets an opportunity to interact directly with families and kids that are going to be impacted by this food.
It's a very happy experience, yeah, and we're really excited to get some food, some little extra help. Thank you. It's just very exciting, very fun, very grateful.
There's a lot of family and people that's out there that needs hope, you know what I mean, and events like this gives them hope for a brighter day.
For these kids, I think it means everything in the holiday season. They get to see someone that they see on television, a celebrity, a true athlete, also being very human and giving back to the community, donating his time.
I know how it feels to have a great Thanksgiving or a hot cooked meal on my table. I want others to be able to enjoy that as well.
More Cardinals in the community coming up on Saturday, 6:30 on 12 News. Season in Focus. Lisa Matthews spotlights David Johnson. He and some of his teammates, including team president Michael Bidwell, were at the Phoenix Rescue Mission and provided a warm Thanksgiving meal. So certainly the Cardinals doing their part above and beyond, if you will, in the community, making sure that others are enjoying their Thanksgiving and their holiday season as well.
And a lot of these guys do other things away from the facility that doesn't get recognized, and there's not cameras there. But Patrick's obviously is really his foundation is growing here. He's got his, his obviously the books, and he goes to the different Patrick's Corner when it comes to his book reading, and he's made strides there. But a lot of times this doesn't get published, but this was a gesture, and he's been doing it for years. So good for the organization to go out there and mingle with the fans, especially in times of need.
Craig Riolu, Mike Jurecki here. It's Cards Cover 2. We come to you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3 p.m. from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center. You can watch live on azcardinals.com/live video. Also find us on YouTube. Just search Cards Cover 2. Miss the show? Download it as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, or TuneIn. Before we let the Bird Gang sound off here on this Football Friday, it's time once again to open the Big Red Vaults. We flash back to 1998, Week 17, Cardinals hosting the Chargers.
Near side hash, 3 seconds to go, and here it is to try to win it and put the Cardinals in the playoffs. The snap, it's on the way, it's got the leg, it is good! The Cardinals win! The Cardinals are in the playoffs! The Cardinals win! 52 yards by Jackie.
Cardinals would go on to beat the Cowboys in Dallas 20-7 in the playoffs. Lose the next week at Minnesota. As Brandon Natus, Cardinals manager of social media, joining us now here in studio on Cards Cover 2. Certainly that moment back in 1998, a watershed moment for the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. The first time making the postseason in Arizona. So always good to flash back via the Big Red Vault. As we now welcome officially Brandon here on this Football Friday. Hope your Thanksgiving was good. What do you got for us? What's the Bird Gang sounding off on here?
A lot of different topics. As per usual. Did you guys have a good Thanksgiving?
We did.
overall?
I did.
We did.
Good.
Don't want to speak for him.
Ready,
Yeah, I did, yeah.
ready for some leftovers.
Same. So we got a couple questions from Instagram, one from Twitter. Cardinals31 starting things off. Which young safety do you think has performed better this season? Derwin James, the rookie, or second-year player Budda Baker?
Well, James has been healthier. He has the numbers. I haven't watched a ton of James, though, as far as, like, is he being asked to do as much as Budda Baker? That I can't tell.
Buddha's really playing more in the box. He's playing more of a safety position. I'm assuming Derwin James, but I think Denzel Ward is probably going to be the defensive rookie of the year when they come out with the first team all defense. James will be on there. I think Christian Kirk has a really good opportunity for the Cardinals. So it's hard to gauge. Budda didn't get it off to. He wasn't starting last year until maybe middle of the season until the end. And he still made the Pro Bowl, but I think it's hard to gauge what they both do in different defenses. But I would say both are off to great starts, whether it's their first or second year.
Well, their respective teams certainly love these draft picks. You have to, especially if you're the Cardinals in the second year. And remember, this is his first full season, Budda Baker, as a starter.
And the Cardinals moved up, and they got him in the second round versus, and again, a great draft pick for the Chargers where they found him in the teens.
Now we'll switch over to Instagram, fellas. So team has talked a lot about running the ball. Will that be the game plan this week, do you think, to pound the rock?
I think it has to be. We talked about it yesterday with Kyle Odegaard and in the press release this week. In 3 games, we've seen the improvement ever since Byron Leftwich. David Johnson is pretty much doubling his output compared to the previous coordinator. So, that has to be the game plan. But it all starts up front with the blocking, and then you got to allow Rosen to make some throws. But the way Byron Leftwich is using David Johnson is, I think we all envision in week 1. It's night and day from the beginning of the season.
If you can get David Johnson going, you get that run game going, even if it's Chase Edmonds for a carry or two, you have a strong running game. It keeps the defense on its toes. It takes less pressure off the rest of the offense. And, of course, then you can get play action going. And Josh Rosen, I think, that's the one thing that doesn't get talked enough about is his play fake. The ability for him when he does play action to hide the ball like a Tom Brady, to keep it hidden from the defense. So if you can get David Johnson going, then I just think it makes it so much easier for the rest of that offense.
And I believe was last week his first week with 100 yards rushing this season. How much harder do you think it will be for this offensive line against the Chargers this week as opposed to the Raiders last week? You
are facing a better defense.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm encouraged that it's going to be the same offensive line. Corey Cunningham has that first start under his belt. He's mentioned it, and we talked about it. MJ brought it up earlier. That second or third play where he realized, okay, this is a lot faster than in college. That is done. I think he'll be ready full speed. Of course, it's different when you're going up against the Raiders, and now you've got to take on a Joey Bosa and a Melvin Ingram, two guys that the Raiders just don't have on their roster.
Yeah, according to StatWiz, okay, in 3 games since Leftwich is promoted, he has 437 total yards, 294 rushing, 143 receiving, 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. He was averaging 71.6 with the other offensive corner and Mike McCoy. So night and day. Starts with the offensive line, but you have to get David Johnson his touches. Christian Kirk gets open, Larry Fitzgerald, etc.
And now we talked a lot about the offense. What does the defense need to do to stop the Chargers offense? I know it's a little bit of a broad question, so just give me one key from each of you. What do they need to do to stop the Chargers offense?
I would love a takeaway, and maybe a couple of takeaways, whether that's a forced fumble or an interception, or you take advantage of someone dropping the ball, running the ball. It's been too long for this team, and if you're going to come away with a win against a very quality team on the road, you need to steal one of those possessions.
I think you got to contain Melvin Gordon. We talked about it earlier in the show. He has yet to carry the ball over 20 rushes per game. He's a 3-down back. They use him in the passing game. I mean, you got to get him in 3rd and long, and I know Craig talked about it earlier, and Rivers is off to a good start, only 6 interceptions this year. Usually he's in the teens when we get to the end of the year. Force him to make some ill-advised throws, but to me, if you get in the red zone, you have to score touchdowns. You may need a defensive or a special teams touchdown, the tilt field position. I mean, you got to convert on 3rd down. I mean, you have to win the turnover battle. This team hasn't had a turnover since the Broncos' 3rd quarter, which that shouldn't happen over 3 or 4 weeks of a season. So you're gonna have to do some little things, and hopefully they can keep the game close to the 4th quarter. But I don't know if you're gonna totally shut that offense down.
Maybe T.J. Logan can break one off on a kickoff return, or Christian Kirk on a punt return.
That's what you need.
He certainly looked explosive back there.
They both have.
And more big picture here. Got a lot of young players playing right now. So what are each of you looking for from this team the rest of the season?
For me, the development of Josh Rosen, and I want to see the young players, and I'm not just talking rookies because they got 12 on the roster, 9 on offense, 3 on D. I want to talk about the guys in their 2nd and 3rd years. I was hoping to see more from Kim Dichie, but Buda Baker, Rodney Gunter. I mean, this is with the rosters. Marcus Golden, I want to see him continue to make strides. I want to see guys that you can look at the future or their core moving forward. Buda Baker, Marcus Golden, hopefully DJ Humphries getting back on the field. You got to see progress from these guys because that's who, the belly of your roster is going to be moving forward. So it's not just the rookie class; it's guys that are still. Because I was having a conversation with a scout recently, and he said, "You look at the Baltimore Ravens; they have guys on their roster that are in their 6th and 7th and 8th year, okay, and they've done a good job drafting and plugging holes in free agency. I just think you got to see progress from some of these young players because they're going to be part of the future."
I'd love to see some of these undrafted rookie free agents get some time, not just on special teams. We've seen Trent Sherfield get some snaps on offense, got his first catch last week, but a Dennis Gardeck, a Zeke Turner, can they be pieces on defense at linebacker? And I know it's hard because these coaches, they want to win. They're not – it's a fine line where you want to get that win on Sunday and also develop. So at the risk of throwing someone in there that maybe is not quite ready, or at least to get their feet wet, as opposed to a Gerald Hodges or a Josh Bynes who've been there, done that, that's the difficult decision that this team faces here these last 6 games. But I'd love to see specifically Zeke Turner, who MJ brings up constantly as far as just his special teams ability, but can he do it now on defense as well?
I know Buchanan.
No, those are really good points because really, if they move on from Buck, I got to think Zeke Turner in this defense is going to play that role. So, I mean, at some point you got to get him reps. But as he pointed out, the staff right now just wants to win football games, and hopefully they show progress.
No, Buck's out this week. Obviously, he hasn't had a lot of snaps this season compared to previous seasons. Do you think that will then create the opportunity for Zeke Turner to get more reps this week?
Coach was asked about it specifically. I think it was Kyle Odegaard, azcardinals.com, brought it up, and Coach kind of didn't dismiss it, but he threw out Gerald Hodges' names. So again, we're talking about winning on Sunday, not so much developing. If it happens in the course of a win, then okay. And maybe if you ask that same question week 16, week 17, maybe we'll get a different answer.
Well, and it makes sense because initially Buck was starting, and then we saw Hodgins in there, and then Buck returned. And then if you go back to the goal line last week, Hodgins is still dressing on game day. So he's really, and Turner, in fairness to Coach Wilkes, he really has been more of a special teams player. He's on all the special teams, and that's how he's made the roster as an undrafted free agent. So pecking order, depth-wise, Hodgins, he's more of a guy you want to have in there in the run stuff game. I don't know you want him in coverage, but he is the next man up at that position.
That's all we got for you, fellas.
Appreciate it, Brandon. Appreciate the Bird Gang sounding off here on this Football Friday using the hashtag CardsCover2. Hashtag CardsCover2 using the number 2 to get involved in the show. Your second trip to L.A. You ready for this, Brandon?
Yeah, going back to Cali.
Don't even start singing. We are having such a good day here on this Football Friday. You need to start bringing up your singing.
I'm excited. It's another stadium to check off the
That's true.
box.
There you go. Very well done.
It was like a
half-hearted singing.
attempt.
Yeah.
See, I forgot to ask Brandon, we'll do it next time because he's got some really good stats on Corey Cunningham.
Oh, I thought you were going to say really good song notes or something.
No. I was overlooking that, but he went back to when he was drafted. So he's starting this week, so we'll be able to bring it up next week.
Okay, you're on notice, Brandon.
But I did think it was cool, though. I was trying to find some sort of cool note with all the teams they play from California this year. Now, obviously, they typically play 2, but since they're playing the AFC West, you have 2 more teams. And
Chargers, Raiders, Niners.
Yeah, well, I guess they've always been in California. I don't know. I was just trying to find something cool. I don't know.
Rams.
Well, I guess the Rams were in St. Louis the last time that they played the West, so I was looking at it. Wasn't.
Don't confuse yourself. It's a Football Friday.
It's been a while since geography class.
I'm just surprised I didn't mention the San Diego this week.
I was doing pretty well.
Hard.
It might have slipped a little bit, but I think we did pretty good. Take on the Los Angeles Chargers. And by the way, what's the uniform
combo?
So,
what did you select, Brandon?
Here we
this
go.
Week?
So this is actually our second Color Rush game of the year. We are not wearing our Color Rush, but we are wearing the white on white, and the Chargers are wearing their Color Rush uniforms. They have like a couple different blues, but we're wearing white on white.
The powder blue?
It's like I don't know even what to
It's like the
call it.
UCLA blue?
No, it's like a different color blue. I'll show you after they put out before the season. They put out their
so white on white.
We're wearing white on white, which we wore for another Color Rush game back in 2016 when we played the 49ers on Thursday Night Football.
Jimmy, is Larry Fitzgerald's first catch in white?
It was a white on
white.
I believe it was in St.
Yeah, 2004 over Aeneas Williams against the Rams.
So it's a good uniform combination. Very well done. Glad you picked that.
Maybe we could get some stats as far as what our winning percentages in each uniform, and then we should pick our uniforms based on
off
that
performance.
Based on winning percentage.
Well, you got nothing to do on the trip over to LA, so just.
I don't know if I have that much time and Wi-Fi, and I don't know.
Well, so you can go back to Fitz's first catch in that uniform.
Maybe we could.
Go back to 2004.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know how it ties. I don't know how it ties
take.
with the Chargers game, but it does. With the fact that they're wearing the same uniform he wore in his very first NFL game.
Yeah, I'm sure you can make some sort of.
So white on white is the uniform combination.
Thank you, Brandon.
On Sunday. Brandon, we appreciate it. We appreciate the Bird Gang sounding off as well. Appreciate everyone behind the scenes here on Cards Cover 2. Special thanks to Tim Delaney, Jim Omohundro, Devin Henry, Jeremy Schnell, plus Grayson Choi, Grant Greeley, Jonathan Hayward, Javier Rodriguez, Brandon Natus, Jesse Aranda, and Jackson Sipes. For my partner, Mike Jarecki, I'm Craig Riolu. As we leave you here on this Football Friday, time to get hyped. Cardinals, Chargers. It's Week 12, and it happens this Sunday.
The Cardinals take the road to Southern California for the second time this season. No doubt 2018 has been disappointing for Big Red, but there are reasons for optimism. David Johnson had his best performance of the season last weekend. Christian Kirk is showing he is capable of becoming a #1 receiver. And Josh Rosen, through the ups and downs, has given plenty of evidence to solidify his status as the quarterback for the future in Arizona. Can the team fight through the growing pains and come home victorious? It will take a complete game from all three phases to knock off one of the AFC's best. Cardinals, Chargers, Game 11 of the 2018 season. Sunday.